Ado live. We are continuing with the live version of Unravel, and so many people requested that I do this one. And you know, it's something where I'm actually quite excited about this, because obviously this is a song that is written by TK, who is a singer-songwriter who I've been very much a big fan of what he's written for other people, and increasingly as I hear little bits of his own music as well, it's just clear that this is a guy who writes incredible songs. And obviously what he did with Unravel was a particularly interesting one for me, because obviously we're talking about a songwriter who I think is one of the most exciting songwriters of the current generation, with probably, I think we can agree, the voice of this current generation, certainly one of the most influential singers of this current generation. So Unravel was really exciting. And if you want to see, because obviously today we're going to be checking out the live version, if you want to see my thoughts on the original, then remember I do have that video there. You can go check that out as well. I reacted to both the TK version and the Ado version, and I think a few people were maybe not too happy in the comments when I said that I preferred the Ado version. But like I say, you know, you can have an amazing songwriter and amazing singer. Those are two different talents. You can be both good at one of them, but I feel like Ado is like almost irreplaceable for the talent that she has. But obviously, as always, I'm going to give my honest thoughts on this, and jumping into the live version of Unravel, I'm not really sure what to expect here, because with these live ones, I'm mostly going for ones where I really want to hear something different, you know, see how they interpret it live. But when it comes to Unravel, I felt like the studio version that Ado did was so on point already. I really liked her studio version. I thought it was really great, had a lot of power. So I'm not really sure what to expect will be added to it in the live version. I know a lot of people have recommended this though. So I'm intrigued to see what we get. With Ado, I think one of Ado's strongest points was the fact that there was a feeling that it was really interpreted in a very kind of different, you know, still had the same vibe, but it was a very different song when it was live. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what we get with Unravel, but as I say, no idea what to expect. Let's jump in though. This is the live version from 2023, and let's go. This song has some beautiful, delicate moments in it. Ah, the cage. I've seen this cage in many photos. Really love the bass pop in there as well. The kick drum's got that big kind of presence because of the live echo. That was really nice. Again, one of the qualities of this song is the contrast between the quiet and the loud bits. How she ramps her voice up. There's that scream! You hear it much more in this version. Okay. Yeah, the song has this big kind of presence in the live sound. It's kind of echoey and big. A bit more chaotic, but also just large. I think I can get what people were talking about here. Yeah, okay, I can get what people were getting at with this one. Just there's a big spike in the viewership there. Bet that's the scream. Yeah, that's the scream, isn't it? Now, I'm not surprised that's the peak because this gets onto look. I understand why people were really pointing out this version, and more than anything, I think it comes down to the rawness of Ardo's performance. Because if we're looking at musically, just to get this bit out the way first of all, if we're looking at this musically, I would say that just from a pure musical perspective, whereas Ardo was going for a slightly different take on the same thing, this kind of felt like it was very musically just kind of like the same song but done live. The instrumentation, it was all pretty much the same, no big recognizable changes from the original, but obviously whereas the original kind of had this the studio version has this slightly tighter feeling where it's a little bit more pensive in the verses and then explodes in the chorus. Kind of here, because it's live and everything's very big and echoey, it just kind of got a big feeling all the time. Everything feels kind of large scale, but that's kind of just what live music sounds like when you've got an arena that huge. So instrumentally, I feel like obviously it sounded live, but it basically was kind of pretty much the same. The big difference was more in Ardo's performance. And this, I think, is where we get onto a really interesting conversation, a conversation I've had so many different times about kind of the quality of live performance. Because when I hear this, like I say, I can understand why the scream is the bit that everyone's coming back to. I can understand this little lump here is probably the last chorus where, again, it becomes very kind of like intense, roaring, screeching kind of sound. And so this fits into an interesting category for me because when I see this and I imagine this live, I can imagine that kind of blood-curdling energy and how that's going to engage you. I will say, though, that this is the sort of thing where if I was seeing this live in the arena, I'd be like, wow. I'd be like, wow, amazing. It does kind of draw that line, though, where it's the sort of thing where, and this is, again, one of the reasons why I tend to listen to the studio recordings more than the live recordings. I don't think I would repeat listen to this one very much because I felt the intensity was very there. But from a musical standpoint, I think that, and this is where I'm probably going to get a lot of dislikes for saying this. I think musically, this definitely sounded like in the last chorus, it kind of lost a bit of the musicality. I think it became so screamy that I think it almost kind of felt like it was falling apart. And that works when it's live, when you're there, when it's a one-time event, when you're just experiencing it, because it's that one-time event where you just go, wow, she really let out that emotion. It's like, wow, you can feel it. But when you repeat listening to a song, it's like, I don't want, that's kind of like, I want to feel that as her in that moment was like, kind of, everything's falling apart, just screeching, pure emotion. But when I actually hear the song, it's like, if I'm going to repeat listen to it, I kind of want to hear the version on repeat where, because the original, this is the thing, the studio version, she's not lacking emotion in the studio version. I do think that there were some things like, that main scream in the middle of the song. I think that was slightly, I felt like it was slightly curtailed in the studio version. They could have allowed that to be a bit bigger, a little bit more drawn out. There is probably an argument so the studio version could have been allowed to have a little bit more intensity, perhaps. But I think this is just kind of on the other side of that line, where I think this one, great for a live performance, but it goes to that point of intensity where it's like great in the moment, but I wouldn't want this to be the definitive version that I came back and re-listened to every time, just because it's got that kind of intensity that is a one-time thing, because it was true towards the end. This is probably the only recording I ever heard of Ardo where I felt like there was points where you can tell the intensity like took over so much that it was like, oh, okay, if I didn't already know this song, I would be kind of wondering, where's the notes gone, so this is definitely one of those ones where I feel if you know the original, this hits harder. If I didn't know the original, I think I would probably have questions about this, but I'll be honest, this is the thing, when you do a review, whenever you've got like a point where you're like, I'm not sure about that always takes up like 80% of the review, and then 20% is you talking about the other majority of things you liked, because talking about things you like takes much less time. So apologies that I spent most of this review kind of questioning that one little bit. But I will say overall, yes, I very much enjoyed this. I thought this was really, really good. Especially as I say, I'm the sort of person where live is something I like to do in person. And don't get me wrong, as someone who's never actually had the opportunity to see Ado live in person, I understand that is a difficult thing. But it's true. I always feel like the feeling of being in the event is the main thing. And if I was there when this happened, this is like one of those ones you remember it for a lifetime. It's just like, wow, the intensity. It's not the kind of thing where I would watch the video back on repeat. If I'm watching it at home, I'm going to go for the original. But if you're talking about memory that will last you a lifetime, I can understand being here would have been it. Because this was not so much about doing the song differently. This was just about that one moment, that one time on stage, that explosion of emotion that she was delivering right there and then. So that's my thoughts on this. As always, I mean, I know... I'm waiting for the downvotes because I'm always honest on my reactions. I keep on saying this, always honest on my reactions, but I am also very aware that, like, you know, for every person who loves to have a conversation, there'll always be someone who said he said something which wasn't 100% positive. Downvote. So I'm waiting for the downvotes. Don't worry. But yeah, I'd like to. Do you know what? I'm actually really from those of you who actually do like to discuss this, which I'm glad to say is the majority of you. I'm really interested to see with this. Is this something where you listen to the live version more than the studio version? I know some people say this sometimes, and it can vary from song to song. But sometimes people will be like, nah, I listen to the live versions more than the studio versions. Never personally veered that way, but okay. Is this one where you would say, I'd be interested to know what you guys think about this. I certainly enjoyed this as a one-time thing. But yeah, long term, I'd go for the studio version. Anyway, get in the comments. Let me know what you think. I'm looking forward as well because, as I say, I'm recording this on the back of Ado, so I'm looking forward to seeing which other songs you guys are going to suggest that I check out. But until I do see that, until we get into the next few, which will hopefully be coming very soon, for now, ciao, ciao.